It's April 1993, and the rising cost of the project begins to cause concern amongst the citizens.
Lloydminster residents filled the gallery to see council make its final decision on the contentious border marker project. Each councillor stated their stand and debated the pros and cons of having the tourist attraction. And when it came time to vote, the decision was a narrow 4-3 in favor, a decision that met with a round of applause. Mayor Pat Gulak's vote split the tie.
I don't term it a victory. I think it's looking at continuing the visionary process of marketing our community. And I hope people don't look at it as a we win or we lose situation. I think that the whole community wins.
The project originally called for a limited price tag of $421,000. However, last night's motion will mean the deletion of one tower, trees and shrubs, as well as brick pavers. The reductions now put the cost at just over $300,000.
I guess I'm somewhat disappointed, but be another time.
Ilston Platt was one of the three councillors to vote against the project and the only member to state a position at last week's public meeting. A large number of residents also voiced displeasure at that meeting, and Platt says some of those residents have been talking about the need for a referendum.
It has been mentioned twice to me. I don't say it's strong, but it may be a lot stronger now when they see how close the vote was.
Despite the split amongst councillors over the final decision, Mayor Gulak says it is time for members to get behind the project.
The decision is made and we will go forward, and I think all of council will support it. They may always throw it back at you and say, remember, I didn't support that initially, but because that's just the way we work.
The next step is adjusting the design for one less tower, which will be the responsibility of the Border Marker Steering Committee.
My understanding is that now if the project proceeding, that we will be involved in the construction phase of it and till see it through to its completion.
It's a waste of energy now to fight it. The discussion has been held, the public's been involved, the decision's been made. I guess we get on with the job.
Officials hope construction will begin by this summer. Michael Higgins, NewsHour.
August 1993 saw shovels in the ground, and it looked like the project was going full steam ahead.
Construction has started on Lloydminster's long-awaited border marker project, with crews breaking ground at Memorial Park. In the past 24 hours, they've ripped up the old sidewalk and pulled out some of the trees.
We're going to do all the landscaping, the concrete work first, and then we'll do the towers at a later date.
Planning and Development Director Gary Buchanan says much of the groundwork will be done in the next few weeks, leaving only the towers, which should arrive sometime in the fall.
The steel has been ordered. It takes a little longer to get from the manufacturer, goes to the fabricator, he'll fabricate the towers, and then they'll be erected sometime late October, early November. There's a 10-week delivery period.
Crews first arrived on the scene 2 weeks ago to stake out the project. Today, city officials walked through the site with contractors, and they made some last-minute decisions that include saving a tree believed to be 90 years old at the north end of the site.
As you come north along the promenade walk, it's a nice natural vegetated stop to make your turn to go to the tower. We'll probably get less cross-cutting to the corner than if you'd carried it further north and there's really no physical barrier, no vegetation barrier. So the trees lend themselves to that.
Crews could begin pouring the sidewalks as soon as next week. Michael Higgins, NewsHour.
A month later, in September of 1993, we report on provincial funding being withdrawn.
The issue of the border marker did not come up at last night's council, but a decision on its future may be less than a day away. The $300,000 project has been sitting in limbo since August, when provincial funds apparently dried up and construction came to a sudden halt. So far, city officials have been dealing with the issue behind closed doors. Council does have a newly developed plan of action to vote on, but not all members of council were present last night.
We agreed that we'd hold it till they all could be present. So we may hold a special meeting this week. 2 members had to be away, just couldn't be here, so we felt all members should be here for it.
That special meeting will, in fact, be held tomorrow morning in the City Council chambers. What they'll be deciding on, though, has not yet been made public, but there are unconfirmed rumors that Council will look to the city's reserve funds for money to finish the project. Herb Flieger, one of 3 councillors to initially vote against the border marker, says he'll wait before commenting on the new plan.
My position hasn't changed, and I'll leave it at that.
There appears to be one certainty in this situation. Necessary cash needed to finish the project will have to come from somewhere other than the Alberta government. Mayor Gulak says local MLA Steve West has now informed the city that tourism money is no longer available.
Well, we haven't received a formal letter to that effect, but he told us that in a telephone call.
Michael Higgins, NewsHour.
Later that month, a decision was made to continue the project despite the money being pulled.
Construction of the $300,000 project was suddenly halted August 18th when council was advised by local MLA Steve West that provincial funding had been withdrawn. That left council with two choices: one to bury the border marker at a cost of $200,000 or finish the project by accessing more than $260,000 from the 1993 budget surplus, which now stands at nearly $500,000. This morning, council gave the go-ahead to finish the border marker, but not before opening the book on the summer of uncertainty. Information released included copies of a letter dated May 18th from the Community Tourism Action Program, which appears to have been the first hint of trouble. It reads, "Overwhelming public outcry has necessitated reconsideration of the border marker project. Never in the history of the program have we experienced this level of local dissension." It goes on to further say that CTAP rescinded its approval so that it could be reevaluated.
So we said, well, why? And so they indicated to us why, and we said, well, had we known, we could have supplied some information to you too. And they said, well, go ahead, supply us the information you think we need in order to countermand what we have received. And that's what we did.
On July 18th, Mayor Gulak received another letter from CTAP indicating a reverse decision and approval to proceed. The green light was subsequently given to start construction in August. It was later that month that the funds were pulled.
I think we're dealing with the reality of what has happened in the last month. And that reality is that the province, the MLA for Lloydminster is not supportive of the border marker project and is telling us that he's not prepared to authorize the release of CTAP money for the border marker.
Today's vote was split 4-3 in favor of going ahead.
To abandon the project was going to cost us around $200,000, and I think that's just too much to bury in the ground. I think we should proceed with the marker as planned and as was passed today. I'm very pleased that this come to a head so we can get on with running the city from now on.
I guess if my personal opinion had been the deciding factor, I would have closed it in. But representing the city taxpayers, I could see that was not the logical thing to do. You can't bury $200,000 worth of work in the ground and have nothing to show for it.
And there were many in today's audience who supported the move.
It's unfortunate the way this project has gone, but we've certainly been in favor of it, and we encouraged council to vote in favor of the project and to complete the project, which they have. So we're certainly happy about that.
Those members of council who voted down the go-ahead motion have opposed the project from the outset.
The concern I have is that we're taking money out of reserves, and we're taking money that normally would be allocated for other projects that we were not able to do, that we cut out of the budget, or reserves that we want to put into things for next year. And so all of a sudden we're spending all our money on a border marker, and I could not bring myself to support the total project as brought forward today.
I think we have failed badly in keeping the public totally informed of what's going on, especially after the information was given to City Council that the funding had been held back.
I would think that the public have a right to make their voices known, and certainly Council's willing to listen to them, but I think the decision for the project to go ahead is made. It will go ahead, and if they are really unhappy, elections in a year's time, and hopefully we see a good slate of candidates coming forward. And I'm willing to undergo that procedure.
With the decision to continue now cast in stone, construction should resume shortly. City officials hope to have a majority of the work done over the next 2 weeks. However, the steel towers have yet to be made, and they may have to wait till spring. Michael Higgins, NewsHour.
When we come back, protestation among the rabble on the border markers, a retrospective.